Okay, Shalom, RasTafari. It's your brother RasTafari here, reporting for the RasTafari Foundation and RasTafari videos on the YouTubes. It is Ehud, the first day after the Shabbat day. Still up from the blog talk early this morning. So, the last Torah portion we just ended Berashit. And last Torah portion was, I believe, Wayagash. Yes, Wayagash. And we're moving into new Torah portion. Here we have Exodus of Shemot. Okay, it was YSA. But yes, we're moving on to Shemot. And interesting. The last Torah portion we were speaking on, well, during the blog talk we spoke on the Jacobs, the Yaakobs, and the I Yaakobs. You see here we have William Saunders Crowdy. You'll see he'll be the first. Reverend James Morris Webb. I have vids on them too. Go check them out. Today we're going to get into Arnold Josiah Ford, and we want to save Wentworth Arthur Matthews for last, because he makes that Amos 9:7 connection. Are ye not as the children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel? But we want to speak on Rabbi Arnold Josiah Ford, and the PDF I have is posted on the RasTafari Foundation. Pretty interesting. It's a biography of him, and it speaks of a Moses to his people, Rabbi Arnold Josiah Ford. And it's interesting because we start in Shemot in Exodus, and we want to get into Moshe. So I give thanks to the Most High, Kadamai Hala Selassie, in Jesus Christos Yeshua HaMashiach, for just leading I to this. So we want to speak on Rabbi Arnold Josiah Ford. He was an instrument player. He worked for the British Navy for a while. He was from Barbados, the West Indies. What he was known as, his family traced their ancestry back to Africa. Okay, we want to get in here a little. Okay. Yes, okay. So Rabbi Ford and his father's ancestry could be traced to the Yoruba tribe of Nigeria, and his mother to the Mendai tribe of Sierra Leone. Okay, to get into how I believe these ancient Israelites, and they were, because there's maps that show the migration of the African Hebrews, the black Hebrews, when they went westward. That they occupied most of that Igbo land, Nigeria to West Africa. Yes, many of them were black Hebrews. So one thing before we really get into the one of our Yaakobs, but since we start in Shemot, we want to go ahead and tell ones and ones to go download this. The link is Lion of Judah Society. It might be .com. It's .com or .org. But you have to spell it out. Lion of Judah Society is where you go to download the Hebrew Torah portion books. Here we have Shemot. So we're going to be reading out of this here. Alright. We want to play a tune 1 second, because you come to know that he was a member of the UNIA, the Garvey's national anthem, the Ethiopian anthem. It was written by this man here. And I don't want to play something that was revealed to I. The winner posted this song on. It's on the RasTafari Foundation. It's Garnet Silk, Babylon Be Still. But there's one section I want ones to hear.
Glorious things are spoken of thee, O city of God's seal. I will make mention of Rahab and Babylon to them that know me. Behold, Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia, this man was born there. And of Zion it shall be said, this and that man was born in her. But the highest himself shall establish her. Now the Lord God, God Almighty, and the Selassie, our Father, strength and redeemer, shall come to the righteous of the people that this man was born there, Selah. As well as the singers, as the players and instruments shall be there. All thy springs are in thee.
Okay, did you catch that? All the singers and player instruments will be there. Interesting thing about that is this man here who wrote the Ethiopian national anthem, he was a musician throughout his life. And a lot of things is going on. He had a bunch of tribulations here in the Americas working with Garvey, and they had a lot of fights about politics and other things. I'm sure Garvey turning his back on His Majesty, calling him a coward and everything, has something to do with that. But there was also things where Rabbi Ford here wasn't getting paid, where Garvey wasn't paying him. And they had some financial problems, and they had some lawsuits or whatever. But he went to Ethiopia. He thought everything was done. He was trying to get some ministry started here, strictly on Jewish teachings, or what they call Jewish, we say Hebrew teachings, and things weren't working over here in America, so he saw how things was in Ethiopia, and so he decided to make that trip to Ethiopia. Just so have it, that year was 1930. And it actually comes to find out that he makes it. He's present at His Majesty's coronation. So that whole prophecy, the singers and players of instruments would be there. Yes, we could make that connection here. Okay, so give I a second here. This is where he took Garvey to trial. He remained a member of the UNIA as a rabbi and everything. Okay. Try to get his own congregation started called Beth B'nai Israel. This person, Valentine, I believe that was the singer of the UNIA. They worked together for a great amount of time. Okay. So we want to find this part where he makes it to Ethiopia. Okay, yeah, here we are. So he had started this congregation and everything, but the Great Depression came in America, so he had to leave. So this is speaks here once again. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can zoom in on the camera. Alright. So once again, it's seen that Ford's dream of building a black community with cultural integrity, economic viability, and political virility was dashed. But out of the ashes of this disappointment, he mustered the resolve to make a final attempt in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian government had been encouraging black people with skills and education to immigrate to Ethiopia for almost a decade. Yeah. And it is interesting how, I think it was Sister Emmanuel made that statement about the Roaring Twenties and what was going on then. So I give thanks for her on that. It's speaking about the prophets during those times compared to I during these times. So, and Ford knew that there were over 40,000 indigenous black Jews already in Ethiopia who called themselves Israel. Okay, sound like I got a test. But who were commonly referred to as Falisha. Falisha to be separated, set apart. The announced coronation of Haile Selassie in 1930 as the first black ruler of an African nation in modern time raised the hopes of black people all over the world. It led Ford to believe that the timing of his Ethiopian colony was provincial. Okay. So it speaks here. Ford arrived in Ethiopia. This is where he makes the connection with our last prophet, Rabbi Wentworth Arthur Matthews. Okay, so he was getting assistance from supporters in America who was, and Rabbi Wentworth Arthur Matthews was in his group, the Commandment Keepers congregation. We're going to get into them. And that was a very interesting link with the Commandment Keepers congregation, and one of the rabbis, I think is Rabbi Kuypers. He's actually the cousin of Michelle Obama in Chicago, and it comes to find out that the Obamas, they really know them. So that's that another link of the Obama and the Pharaoh Joseph connection, the Bob Marley connection. And coming to find out that they really do know the truth of RasTafari. Okay, but we digressed a little. But they said that was Ford's most loyal prestige. That was his most loyal companion. Okay, so he managed to secure up to 800 acres of land on which he began his colony. And approximately 100 individuals came to help him develop it. Unbeknownst to Ford, the U.S. Department was monitoring the efforts with irrational alarm, dispatching reports such as headings as the American Negroes in Ethiopia, inspiration back of their coming here. Okay. So, and I want to make that invasion. And what happened, we want to talk about what happened to what ended up happening. There was a lot of rumors that he had converted to Islam, that he had started the Nation of Islam. Well, they say he changed his name to Fard or something. That was incorrect and everything. He did have lots of connections. He worked with different black folks. It's like there's a section in here where he worked with some Moors that fell out because of doctrine and the way they view things. But I'm sure he has some connections with Islam. And it is interesting, yesterday, it was Muhammad's birthday. And they were celebrating in Ethiopia how Ethiopia was the first refuge for the first Muslim refugees that was fleeing persecution. And that whole connection where they were trying to say Africa is not Semitic. Yeah, that's a lie. His Majesty already said that the connection between the Ethiopians and their Arab cousins on the opposite side of the Red Sea, he had already established that connection. He's the connection. The Oromo people in Ethiopia, that Shemitic line, the connection with our Arab cousins. You know, that's why there's such great relations in Ethiopia with the Arabs today. You know, there's no radical Islam in Ethiopia. Okay, but we want to finish here. Ford had no intention of ever leaving Ethiopia, so he drew up a certificate of ordination, a semicha, for Rabbi Matthew that was sanctioned by the Ethiopian government with the hope that this document would give Matthew the necessary credentials to continue the work that Ford had begun in the United States. By 1935, the black Jewish experiment with Ethiopian Zionism was on the verge of collapse. Those who did not leave because of the hard agricultural work joined the stampede of foreign nationals who sensed that war with Italy was imminent and defeat for Ethiopia was certain. For it was said died of exhaustion and heartbreak in September.